This is a Zonker from Fling Puterbaugh's book, The Basic Manual of Fly Tying. I'm tying it on a number 10 3x long hook. They say anywhere from 8 to 14. I'm using orange thread because I'm going to be using this orange feather for the front, I guess you'd call them legs or throat. It's a streamer, so fins. The body of this fly will be mylar tubing, and this tubing, although it looks very large diameter, it pulls down quite nicely for a size 10 hook. I don't know that I would use this on smaller than a 10 hook. You can also use mylar tubing that comes with a cotton rope inside of it. I find that to be not as woven quite as tight, and it tends to come apart a little bit more. Then it is a zonker, so I'm using a strip of rabbit zonker for the tail and top of the fly. So I do have a piece of this mylar cut, and I'm going to take my pick and pick out the end of it. That will become the tail. Then I will take that tube and push it down over the feather or the shank of the hook, and hopefully picking it out. Maybe I have to pick it out a little bit more here to get that thread as far up in here as I can. They still want to cross over each other, but I want to get that thread. I want this front end, when I stretch it, to be about an eye length from the eye of the hook. I'll try to pull these up in here in the back, squeeze that down, grab that tail if I can. I still have these. Yeah, this is interesting stuff to work with. And this actually looks like it's more a plastic tubing that's got some mylar tinsel in it. And a couple of wraps, and then cinch down, and it may twist, but that's okay. I'm gonna fix this tail later. We just want that tied down tight. And then I'm going to put a few more wraps on. And then I'm going to whip finish that tail end so that I can move the thread up to the front of the hook. I'm going to work around the tip of that hook and through the gap when I'm finishing it. I'm going to come back. This is really just holding right now. I'm going to come back here again after I get the front tied in. So I'll be tying the zonker in at the back. So bring my thread up here, do a few wraps. I'm already catching that in, that's okay. Just want it a little bit further back than that though. Okay. Take out my thread tag. And then I'm going to catch in all of this mylar tubing, wrap it onto the front, and then that'll create the body of this streamer minnow. And I'm going to just try to clip out some of those plastic ends up there, mylar plastic ends that are hanging up over the eye. I will be putting a streamer head on. Okay. I didn't want that to happen. I needed to tie that off. I'll be doing this a number of times. Tying thread back in helps if I take that tag, wrap it around my thread a few times, and then that kind of creates a knot there. And then I'm going to put a whip, well, let me take off that tag first. I guess it doesn't matter the order here. Take off that tag and then whip finish as a placeholder more than anything, because I will be coming back to the head of the fly after I tie the zonker in at the butt. Let's tie that. I have another thread here to clip out. Hey, before I put that zonker on, I am going to kind of pick this tail out of here. Get it so that it's on both sides of this hook bend, hook shank here. Okay. Then the zonker is cut so that it's a little bit longer, about halfway down the mylar tail, sticks out over the top of the eye a little bit. We're going to be cutting off that end. I do want to trim off this little bit of butt end on the zonker. So when cutting zonker, you need to get those point in underneath of the hair and just cut the leather so that you have that tail, hair tail in the back. Is that a pun? A hair tail? And then I want to just clip that leather kind of at an angle. Kind of take off the sharp corners there. Alright. I'm going to lay that down. My leather is going to come about halfway back on my body material, and I want to split the hair on the hair zonker so that the split is right over where I have that thread. And I'm going to wet the zonker, and that will pull it forward and hold it in place. Okay, now that my zonkers are ready, I need to put my thread back in. So this works pretty slick. Take that tail, wrap it around 2 or 3 times, and then go back up and wind that thread back up on the hook, and then that helps to secure in. You can use that when you're doing this reattaching or when you break a thread. That's a good way to reattach the thread. Alright, now we'll take that zonker, set it on top. I'm going to lean it forward just a little bit so as I wrap down on it, it doesn't wrap back on the back side of my hook shank. And I'll just put enough wraps in there to secure that well. Make sure that it's going to stay on the hook. Now this is one of the trickier parts of this fly, because I've got all this zonker sitting out here in front. I need to whip finish around it to tie my knot back here in the back. So I need to open up my whip finisher enough so that I can go around that hole. And of course, keeping that wet is helpful because it stays out of the way. And I will be putting some cement. Can't call it head cement, can I, if it's on the butt? Then reattach my thread up here at the front. And again, take that tag, wrap it around the thread a few times, and then take that up and wrap it on the hook. And that helps that stay in place. So I really don't have enough hook shank there to do a good wrap over that holds that thread on the shank. Take out the tag, bring that zonker back down. Now I'm going to split it again up here where I'm going to tie in that throat and where I will wrap the head. So again, if I lean that leather forward just a little bit, then it's more likely not to wrap back over the backside of the shank. And throw in some nice securing wraps. Then I will take this front bit and hold it up here over the eye. Use the eye as my guide and take that off kind of at an angle. And then I'll be wrapping back down over that with the thread for the head. Alright, I'm going to turn my fly upside down. So I've taken this orange hen feather and I have clipped out a piece of it, clipping out the tip first and then a piece of that so that I have a V shape, and then I'm going to turn it so that the shiny side is towards the tip of the hook. That hopefully will help those fibers bend forward a little more. And then I want to just adjust my length so that I'm about, down to the width of the gap. The length of those fibers about what the gap is. And Fling Puterbaugh say 8 to 10 threads in there. And then I can turn that right side up. Make sure those throat feathers are where I want them. And I can clip off this extra. And this is a streamer, so there's nothing wrong with putting a streamer head on it. Throw a whip finish on that. Then I am going to cement it. I use a diluted goop, G-O-O-P, which comes in a tube, thinned down so that it's liquid. And I will just dip a needle in it, and then it gets a drop or two. Put that in that head. And then I'm going to invert my hook again, and I'm going to put another one of those drops on that back knot. So a Zonker from Fling Puterbaugh's book, The Basic Manual of Fly Tying.